Hi everyone in social media world. So this is a very special episode that I am featuring one of my psychic teachers and developers and healers there. This is Ingrid Karazincir, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. And so I want to spend the rest of this episode talking about her and the work that she does and why you should definitely look into her and what she's doing in her life right now, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's great to be on. Thank
totally
you.
unscripted. This is the totally unscripted moment. Okay, so all right. So let me first start by sharing with everyone how I got to know you, because I think that's the most important thing that led me to you. So I was in my initial stages of development. I was trying to develop as a psychic and a medium, and I was trying to connect with people in the Houston area who also did the same kind of work. So I found you online through Meetup. There was a meetup.com group, and I went to your classes, and I fell in love with them. She had such a soft and gentle and nurturing spirit, and I felt very comfortable. And so I kept going week after week after week, and I fell in love with you in the classes. And then you were gone. Like, I think a year later, you decided to move back to California, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not taking this class anymore. This is about our connection, our time together. And I felt like I was really developing and growing in the class. And I think towards the end of the class, you had even mentioned, well, have you thought about doing this yourself? And I was like, no, I'm not the kind of person to be on camera or in front of people. So I didn't feel comfortable with it.
I can tell.
Yeah. So I was just not going to do the class anymore, and I didn't. I left it, and someone else took over. And then you came back to Houston, and we reconnected, and so now you're back, and you've got a whole lot going on now, and I want to talk about all of that first. So let's start by talking about your first psychic experience, what led you to this work, and why.
Okay, great. So I would say when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I had my guardian angel. Her name is Hope. She came to me, basically started talking to me. The voices a lot of people hear. I heard it, but I also saw her in my mind. Very tall, blonde curly hair, really beautiful, just this glowing, that she had. And anyway, she started talking to me and told me how to call her whenever I needed her. So if I was afraid, which as a medium as a child, I'd have a lot of moments where I'd wake up paralyzed in my bed from nightmares or feeling like there was things in the room. And I would just lay there paralyzed, trying to get the guts to get up and run down the hall in my parents' room. And that happened all growing up. And when she came, she kind of said, just call on me, ask me to help. And so I started doing that, and she really helped me. And then when I was a teenager, I went through Reiki training. My mother was a healer, so she had me go through it. And one day, I was healing with her and her friend, and suddenly I felt a spirit come into my body, and I couldn't stand, so I sat back down, and this, basically the angel started channeling through me. And they both kind of watched me say all these things, and it took me about 20 minutes to come back out of that. And then this voice told me that I could start doing readings. So I started working at this metaphysical store in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there was that day that I went in, I said, you know what, I can do readings now. I wasn't just working behind the counter. I said, I can do readings. She said, oh, okay, well then read me. And I said, okay. So I did, and she's like, okay, well you can just start doing it, just start offering it. So it was kind of this thing, and then from there I had clients. I was only 19 when I started doing it professionally, and I had these women who would have like groups at their house and have me come and just read the whole group, and it just was like that my whole life, basically.
So did you always know that you were going to be a reader, or did you you went along with it as it was all developing?
So I did start out as a writer, and as soon as I learned how to write, when I was a child, I started writing stories, magical stories I was obsessed with unicorns, a lot of unicorn stuff, fairies, and then sword and dragon stuff. So I started writing novels and all of that, and I found I would get this line in my mind, and I'd have to go sit down and write, and the whole thing would come out. And then it started becoming vivid, and everything I wrote, I saw it like a movie in my head, and I was just trying to keep up with what I was writing. And so I was always channeling. And I didn't, all of this stuff that came out of me, I didn't realize. And the two, really go together.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm teaching, I say, especially if you're doing it by yourself, you should try to write. So when you're trying to get answers, you can sit down and just write down some questions, or just start writing and just see what comes out, you know? And that's how I did it.
So, well, and FYI for you guys, she has written quite a few books. The one we're going to feature today is called The Psychic Way, a Psychic Development Workbook by Ingrid. Here you go. And you can you can click on the link next to me, and that will take you directly to, are you on Amazon?
I'm on Amazon.
Okay, so it'll take you to Amazon. It'll also take you to her website if you want to go to her website and purchase it there as well. What is this book about?
So the Psychic Way is a psychic development workbook. So I teach several classes, different levels of psychic development, and this workbook really goes hand in hand with that. So you can do it on your own, or when I start a level 1, I have people take this book as well.
Yeah.
So they can go along, and all the chapters in it, we're talking about angels, spirit guides, past life, learning to meditate, all sorts of things like that. They're just aspects of psychism.
Well, and I noticed with your classes, because when I took your classes, it was less focused on speeches and on, reading quotes and philosophies, and it was more about exercises. Why do you focus more on exercises and less on, just lecture? Yeah, exactly.
So I believe that you can talk to someone all day long about something, and first of all, they're not going to retain it. You can, can you think about what people said to you all day long? You really aren't going to retain that information. Even if it seems profound, there might be a little piece that you retain. What I believe is you really find your truth, and you really get moved by experience. So I make my classes all experiential. I have exercises that are tried and true, things that I've done for, a decade, that I have seen those that continue to practice it have gone from 0 to 60, have gone from not seeing anything, like they would tell me, I don't see anything, I never will see anything, I'm not visual, to saying, oh, your dead grandmother's right next to you and she's talking to me. This happened in this one class that I had. But I see this all the time. It's just, you have to have experiences of your own.
Yeah.
I don't want to spout truth to somebody, because everybody's truth is different and we all have a different perspective. And it's really about sitting there and taking the time to check in with yourself, to tune into that spirit, and to, find out who are your guides, who are your angels, who do you work with, and how can they help you? So that when you're not in my class, you have that relationship. You have those tools in your toolbox. I want you to move forward and be able to do these things any old time.
I think I had that because of your exercises, I had one of my biggest breakthroughs in your class.
Okay.
And that, for those of you who don't know my story, I used to do readings when I was a teenager, and I used to read for people for quite a while, and then I backed away from it because I got some really bad feedback from a couple of people who didn't agree with what I was saying. And I didn't have the backbone developed at that time, so I completely shied away from it. Said, I don't want to do this anymore. People are rude and mean. And I spent 15 years trying to redevelop my abilities, because the moment that I decided I wouldn't do this anymore, it shut off. And I think it was a statement to the universe, and the universe said, okay, you don't want this, we're going to take it away. So I spent 15 years trying to redevelop, and at that time, I had decided that I was really going to go heavily into this, and I went to your class, and one of the first exercises you had us do were you had to sit across from our partner, and we were supposed to hold our hands, and as we were holding our hands, we were supposed to share what we were sensing regarding them. And I remember the guy that I was sitting right in front of, and I touched his hands, and I closed my eyes, and what I saw in my mind was very clear. It was a tree. It got cut in half, the stump fell over, and then all I saw was the remaining part of the tree. And I mentioned it to the gentleman, and he just started laughing. He says, well, that's what I do for a living. I cut trees for a living. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's pretty clear. So, and after that, I was like, wow, this is really powerful experience, because I'd spent so much time reading and trying to develop by reading and studying material and less exercises. So I think I had some of my biggest breakthroughs in your class. I feel that your exercises were really, really instrumental in helping me to develop and grow my abilities and know that I could actually do it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that most of the time people don't know that they can ask their guide something. They don't know that this ability is just sitting there for them. And I find that, especially new people that come to class, I say, okay, well, I'm going to make you all read for each other. And they'll be like, and those people are always good at it.
Yeah.
They always are just surprise themselves because, listen, I mean, how many times do you have the opportunity to do a reading? Normal people, I mean, you don't do that with your friends. You go out and have a drink or something. You know what I mean? We don't have those opportunities.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are even in that situation and having that opportunity, you find out something about yourself that you probably didn't know before.
Yeah. What do you think is the number one issue that people run into when they're taking your class? Because you've had how long have you been doing classes?
So about a decade.
Oh, wow. That's a long time. Yeah.
I've been working in the metaphysical field about 20 years, but when I moved to Houston, I actually started Houston Psychic Circle with the idea of, trying to find other psychics, trying to find my people, my tribe. And I found a whole bunch of people came to class and asked me questions, or the group, and were asking me questions. And I realized, oh my gosh, these people need teachers.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I know how to do this stuff, I'll teach. And then I was asked to start teaching at like Centerpoint. Other people asked me, and I just kept doing it.
Yeah. So what do you think is the most common issue or block that people run into when they're trying to develop?
So I would say that this is funny, but some of the ones that are actually more advanced or have read too many books actually have a harder time because the ego and channeling can't fit in the same space. Meaning that we have to be an open vessel. And if you think that you have control over everything, if you believe I know everything, this is the way the world is, you have a very closed portal. So what my classes also are about with guided meditation and allowing people to kind of unfold a little bit, let go of their grip, and so that they can open up and channel. So I find that the only hurdles I have, even after some people keep coming to classes, they start feeling like, oh, I really know this stuff now, and it starts to shut them down. You have to stay humble. You have to stay open, like whatever you need from me, the divine source, use me. And you have to be open like that in order for that to continuously flow. I know at times in my own life, the times that I felt like I had it all figured out are the times I had a lot harder time channeling. So I know that now. And so in my classes, the only challenges are those that really have that big ego that just block them.
And that was my problem for many years. I mean, for the 15 years I was trying to figure this out, I was trying to control how it was going to be seen or experienced by the person. I wanted to be right. I didn't want to be wrong. And then trying to control the information and how it was going to flow. And I saw too many shows, too many programs that, you see the edited forms of these mediums on TV and you think it's supposed to be like exact every single time. And you don't get to see the rest of the episode. And so I was trying to be just like the mediums on TV or like the psychics on TV, and it wasn't working that way. And I think in your space, in the teaching class, in the class that I took for you, it helped me to feel comfortable enough to be wrong. And I think that was a big lesson, was you're not going to be right. It's okay. And
I just told somebody recently, I was like, you guys aren't getting paid for this. It's a class. So you're not getting paid to give this person a reading. It's about you learning to read. You know what I mean? As opposed to giving somebody a reading. So as long as you give yourself that space to, again, ego and allowing yourself to make mistakes, that's where the real miracle happens.
So I know that I just saw your video a few days ago, and you had your daughter on. That was your daughter? Yeah. So cute. I was like, who's that cute? You're like, wow, like who is she? And I didn't realize it was your daughter. So tell me about the work that you do with like younger people and developing and so forth. Because your daughter, I mean, she is your student, she's learning from you. Not just, how to be a human being, but also how to be an intuitive human being.
So I have my two daughters, and they both have been... they've both actually done a video with me doing readings. My younger one is more like me, as she's a medium, so she's actually seen dead people in the hallway and things like that. She's come a long way because she sat in my classes and she's learned a lot from me on not to be scared like I was when I was young. So she's very accepting of it now. And she will suddenly just say something and we're like, oh, I guess that's happening next week. She'll just know stuff. My other daughter is more clairvoyant, so she can see. She's very visual. I did remote viewing exercises with both of them, and my older daughter would go to the object every time. She said she'd picture where it is every time. My other daughter, she couldn't find things until I told her to feel. Yeah. Where do they feel like they are? Where did it feel like somebody put them? And then she started finding them.
So what's it like for your husband to have to deal with 3 intuitives in the house?
Okay, so this is a good story. My husband is a clairvoyant, like my older daughter.
Yeah.
When I met my husband online almost 14 years ago, and we talked on the phone. We're like, hey, let's meet up at Starbucks and meet each other. And he's like, bring your tarot deck. I was like, okay. How do you know I have a tarot deck? He's like, I just know. And it turns out he's very psychic too. He just doesn't do it for a living. Yeah. So he and I have actually done a lot of this work together.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's it's interesting. My partner is an atheist, and he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. I mean, he can't explain what I do. He can see me do it, but he still is like, I don't know. I don't have any empirical evidence. There's nothing there, and I totally get it. But at the same time, it's like, come on, come to one of my classes or whatever. He's like, and I totally get it. I understand.
Well, my first husband was an atheist, and he was, I find I like atheists better than people who really think they have it figured out.
Really? Why?
Because atheists tend to be more open. Like, they can't really say it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? And I like that. At least they're open. Yeah. But, I like being with the psychic better. Yeah. But anyway, my first husband, he actually loved Reiki. Yeah. He loved getting healed. He's like, I don't believe this. I don't know what it is, but can you do it one more time? Yeah. He loved it because he felt it.
Yeah. It's like and that's interesting because the reason I can relate with you in a story that you shared with me once where, when you were doing Reiki, you began to channel energy and that helped to shift you in this direction. The reason why I began to when my ability switched back on was because I took a Reiki class and I felt the energy. I thought it was bullshit. I thought I had a friend who was a Reiki master at the time, and she kept trying to get me to have a Reiki session and then take the class. And I was like, no, that's just stupid. Like, you're gonna put your hands on someone and you're gonna feel magic. It doesn't make any sense to me. And so I was bottoming out. I was like, there's just nothing else I can do. I feel like I've tried everything to get my ability to work. I've read all these books. I've tried all these exercises, not the ones in your class. I hadn't met you yet, but all these exercises. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and give up on trying to be a psychic medium. And I'm just going to be a Reiki healer, because even if I can't do that, I can still be in the spectrum of this work. So I went ahead, had a session done, and I felt it. And it was crazy. I mean, her hand, which at one point her hand was like above my head this high, and I felt this blast of heat, like I opened the door to the oven and it just felt all this heat, and I was like, holy crap, what is this? And I decided, okay, well, I'm going to take this more seriously, and I learned how to be a Reiki healer. So I know you're a Reiki healer, but you also mentioned that you are advancing that process in your life, and now you do a different form of healing?
So I do transvibrational healing in addition to Reiki. Transvibrational healing is something that is more angelic. The angels actually told me about it, again, early on when I was doing Reiki. But it is actually a form of working on the energy body. Yeah. So you basically take that energy body out, and it has every piece of information from the conception of your soul, not of this lifetime, but of your soul, to when that light goes out. Right. And so it's all in this grid. Right. And the transvibrational healing is all about healing that and working on that and letting the angels do it. So you don't do any hands-on. You initiate it, facilitate it, allow them to do the work. Yeah. And then you can also read and look at it and diagnose and let them know what you see. But I'm going to be, having that book come out and teach more classes on that, because I think it's really effective. Yeah.
So you still do readings. I know you do tons of classes. That's your primary focus. You still do readings, correct? Now, if someone wants to book an appointment with you, they just go to your website?
So readingsbyingrid.com and ingridkarazincir.com. It's easier when I say readingsbyingrid.com to get to, but ingridkarazincir.com is really full of my articles, information, educational stuff. So it also has some YouTube videos that I do. My YouTube channel has, just search me up, Ingrid Karazincir, on YouTube, and I have a ton of videos on there that are like how-to, guided meditations, about psychic development, psychic protection, all of that stuff. I've had it up there for about 6 years. I have like 50,000 views right now on that. But it's really my goal, my mission has always been education and to help other people. Because imagine what this world would be like if everybody was in tune.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially right now with all of the drama and the political craziness.
If they were happy and they were feeling that love, that divine, we wouldn't hurt each other.
Yeah.
It's the only reason people are, anytime that we're negative or trying to hurt other people, is because we feel cut off. We feel alone from the divine. And I am trying to help people reconnect with that.
One of the most attractive qualities about you, which is why I stuck with you for so long, was because when I met you, you know, I walked into the class, and at that time she had no hair, she was bald, wore tons of scarves, and I was like, who's this bald-headed woman, you know? And I saw her, and you just felt so real and authentic. And then I saw your tattoos, and I was like, she's like a regular person. She's not, you know, and there's this ideology that people who are spiritual or do this work, that they're on a soapbox, that they're something other than human. But you were just human, but you knew what you were talking about. And that was one of the reasons why I was so pulled and attracted to you. Do you feel like you run into that as being a challenge now in your life, where you try to teach people, you try to connect with them, but you're also, you know, they look to you for all that guidance and support?
So a big part of my work is the only way I can really help somebody is if they trust me in a session, if they feel like I can help them and support them. And sometimes that means they have to feel like I'm higher than them, like a deity.
Yeah.
So I understand why a lot of people do that or try to put you on a pedestal. But the fact is, you know, of course I have a human life, I'm in a human form, and I also have had so many human experiences. It's really helped me to understand the human condition, understand whatever you've gone through. I've either gone through it or I know about it, and I understand how you're feeling.
Yeah.
So that helps me to help people. So yeah, it's, you know, on one aspect of that, it is important that that person trusts me and believes that, you know, I do have this ability to help them. But on the other side of it, it's really important for them to know that they can do it themselves, and they don't need to idolize or put somebody else up higher than them, because we all have the ability.
Yeah. Let's talk about Pip and your new series, because I know you've been putting a lot of time and a lot of energy into this, and I was actually shocked when I saw it, because I thought, this is such a great idea. This is, you know, it's a channel where you have all these intelligent, spiritual-minded people from all walks of life who come in and share their passions and their work and so forth, and you get to interview them. So today we're switching roles, because
I like that.
I'm interviewing you. So tell me about Pip and what started this for you.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to back up a little bit. About 5 months ago, I had, you know, my mother passed away last year, and she was, you know, a big part of my life and my spiritual journey, and got me into this work, and was my best friend. She had dementia, so there was many years of kind of suffering, but she finally passed away, and I kind of went into this very dark emotional place, because I felt very lost without her. So I got to this point about 5 months ago where I kind of was like, I really don't know what to do. I was so lost. And at that point, I gave up. I gave up, meaning I said, you know what? I'm not going to do anything unless I'm told to do it, unless I'm divinely guided to do it. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing for the rest of my life. So I literally just gave up. And that is when, I would say within 24 hours, that I really met God for the first time. And I used to hate when people talked about just God in this more generic sense.
Right.
But I always thought that I had that divine connection until 5 months ago. And now I really have it.
Yeah.
Now, because I actually let that connection happen. Yeah. I was open enough. So since then, my life changed, because I just let myself be guided.
Yeah.
So one thing that happened was I woke up at 5 one morning, and my angel's like, hey, so you're going to do this show, and it's called the Positive Impact Project, and you're going to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, I don't think so. I can't be a host. I don't know how to do that. And she's like, well, you're going to do it. So before 10 a.m. that morning, I had scheduled like 2 months worth of guests onto my show, and created my show, and had my logo for my show. It all happened.
Yeah.
So what the show is about is really focusing on the light workers. And that can mean a variety of fields, but people who aren't working for the dollar. They are working because they are passionate about what they're doing.
Right.
And sometimes at great sacrifice, personal sacrifice, that they are doing something that they believe is going to make a positive impact into the world. Whether they are trying to make that impact or is just happening naturally because they're following their passion.
Yeah.
I see so much media that is about these people. I mean, you see rich and famous politicians, bombings. I mean, all you see in the media are things that incite fear and all of the negative parts of humanity.
Yeah.
So this project is really about shining a light and flooding the media eventually with the beautiful side of humanity.
Yeah.
And right now you may see a lot more movies like that too, and a lot more books and things like that. People want to be inspired. They want someone to give them permission to be as beautiful as they are. They know they are. It is a new age. I am an Aquarian in the age of Aquarius, but it's really an age of stepping into your power and understanding that you can do whatever you want to do and that you can follow your heart and that things will work out.
So I know that you had mentioned to me that you had learned, not only were you just getting such a rush of energy and infusion from the people that you were interviewing, but every single person you had was teaching you something different at that moment that you were going through that. So
I didn't expect that. Yeah, I didn't expect that. But each person that came on my show, I mean, a lot of them I knew, not necessarily met in person, but knew of, and I had no idea when they were sitting on my couch how much I would get from them. And I have learned so much, and I felt so blessed. Like, I just can't believe, I get emotional sometimes thinking about all the people that have suddenly come together for this and that were so willing and so quickly willing to be on the Positive Impact Project and support this idea. And I was feeling, you know what, this is its own entity and I am just, pushing it forward. But oh my gosh, it has a mind of its own. And I feel so blessed to be doing it, just be part of it.
So what is your focus going forward? What do you want your intention, your focus to be with that series and with your work in general?
So first of all, I really would like to have those online classes. I know you're making online classes as well, and I feel like that's, in the long run, that's really what I need, so that first of all, I think the whole world should be able to access that. There's really not that many teachers. I found that there is a huge lack of this kind of support, psychic development support, spiritual support. So I really want to get more of that out there, and I'm working on that new book, and I'm working on one that's more of an autobiography, so that's going to hopefully be in the works this year. Outside of that, I am really hoping to have a retreat, and that's something that is possible by the end of this year as well, to have some kind of retreat center so that I can teach classes but have a place that people can come to from all over and have more intensives, like week-long, weekend classes, but I just want to teach more and get deeper.
Well, I just want to take this time and thank you for everything that you do, not only currently but have done in the past, because regardless of wherever you were in your journey, you have taught me greatly, and I so appreciate that. I wouldn't be doing the work that I do today if you hadn't had an influence on that. So thank you so much for that.
That's so wonderful to hear too.
Actually, I don't think she realizes the impact she had on my journey. So and when I reconnected, she was just like, oh, it's just class. I'm like, no, you don't understand how serious this was for me. So, so is there anything you'd like to share with the audience before we say?
I just want to say, I guess, to those who are seeking, I think the most important thing to know is that you actually have all of these tools in your toolbox, that everybody is able to channel, that everybody is psychic, that everybody has the sixth sense. I mean, if you think about what is love, what is feeling. I'm teaching a sacred sensuality class this month, and it's about going through the six senses. And that sense, the feeling of love, is also our connection with the divine. We all have it. So getting that back and opening back up, it's like being able to see again for the first time. And I really hope that everybody, just anybody who watches this, will start seeking, start looking for a way to open that up, because you're not whole. without your sixth sense, without all of those senses working in harmony.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the pieces that I'm working on in the current class is that being psychic, being intuitive, it's just part of our natural, it's part of us naturally. We had it since we came out of the water and the ocean, and it helped us to stay alive and to survive because we had to sense things beyond what was right in front of us. And so I love that you're just incorporating that into your classes and your work that you do.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on.
Welcome.
Really
Thank you.
fun.
Thank you for watching. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I had a blast with Ingrid. And I know we were talking about having a video reading type deal.
Really
so we're going to work on that. We will let you know as soon as we have our shit together. We'll let you know. And I hope you tune in then. So thank you so much for watching. You guys have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.